Hi there. This is H. Victoria Hogger Atkerson. I'm an author and a writer, and we were reviewing what it takes to write that first book. And that's number one. The first book, what do you need to do? First thing you need to do is to commit to the lifestyle, commit to the job of being a writer. That is number one. You have to make up in your mind that I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I'm a writer. And everywhere you go, I'm a writer. And once you accept that role, you need to think about what you are most passionate about. What are the things that make you feel like life is teeming in your body, in your soul, and in your mind? Those are the things you want to think about when you're writing. That may help you to decide what type of writing you want to do. So, after you decide that, you want to make a list of things that you're most passionate about. Then you're going to choose one or two things that you want to write about. Then you're going to set up your outline and don't make it so specific. It can be topical, subject, 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 subject. It doesn't have to be detailed in any way, but just do a basic outline to, to follow what you think you may be writing about and follow the subject matter. Check with friends, check with your family. They are great resources for finding new ideas and to find out what they know because they may be able to enlighten you. Then go to your library, talk to your librarian. They are full of information and they have tons of resources that you may be able to use. Some of them will surprise you with some of the things they bring out and it will help your topic along. So be sure to do that. And then after you do that, I think the best thing to do is to think about a timeline. Do you want to write about the future, which is like the most creative thing I think you could do? Or you want to do something on the past because you can research any era that you choose, write about anything or any time period that you want. And think about where is the story going to unfold. If that is like New Orleans, Los Angeles, San Francisco, choose a place and then do the research on that particular city. Look at maps, situate where you want that story to take place. I've even gone to like San Francisco, went to a particular corner, looked at the view to make sure it's the right view I wanted for my for my story. And this is where I want the story to take place. And that was very real to me because when I got back home, I could visualize everything in that story because I was stood in that spot where I was going to situate that story. It's very important, I think, in the writing process because it makes you um, more aware of what you're doing. So that's what you really want to do. Get as much practical experience as you can. If you want to write about a city you've never been there, go there, or just pull up everything you can on the computer. Because like we're in this practically, we're in that space age here. Here we're like in that next generation. We can pull up anything on the internet. So pull it up, look at all these wonderful pictures where you can see yourself on that particular street doing whatever that character might be doing. You really want to do that. So find a place, find a time period, then think about the subject matter that you want to explore within that book. Do you want it to be about a religion? Do you want it to be about like I said before, a book club? Do you want it to be about a family grouping? What do you want this to be about? And then what issues do you want to bring up in that book? Okay, we got all that done, right? Then you're going to write your first 15, 20 pages. It's like a summary of the story you want to write about. And then you choose two characters. You want to develop those two characters within that summary. So once we get that done, it's our first draft. Not really. Well, it's your summary. Take your summary, take your timeline. Timeline is really great because you want to take that, you want to develop that along with your characters. Who were they? How old were they when they first popped on the scene? And then do a timeline. What happened at this stage of their life or this stage in the story? If a person's pregnant, what happened in her first month of pregnancy? What happened in the third month of pregnancy? What happened when she delivered? I mean, you just want to go through the stages. And what symptoms does she have? Is that relevant to the story? You can do all of that. And then what if that storyline continue as it did in Stones Along the Path, where the children grow up? Where was that child at age 1, 2, 3, or 12, 15 at graduation from high school. So do a timeline and make sure all of that makes sense when you start putting your story together. But you want to think first in those first 15 pages of a summary together. Once you get that together, think about your characters. Who do you want to write about? And you really need to zero in on this. So that's the next part of our thing. We're going to talk about character development because it's really important. Before you do your timeline, we need to do your character development. Okay. So characters. Think about who we're writing about. Say it's a man and a woman. I do historical romance, so I usually start with the main character. Who am I going to emphasize? I'm going to emphasize the life of this man or the life of this woman, and I let that take me. What is their occupation? First of all, for me, that works. What are their occupation? What are their pastime? And then I sit down at my computer and I start drafting a biography of each characters. I want to know everything about that character, of those characters. I want to know how she moves her head when she's in an argument. I want to know what the color of her eyes are. I want to know the color of her hair. I want to know how she walks in the world. I want to know how people perceive her or him. I need to know like what is her favorite color. It may not be relevant in telling a story, but it's relevant in knowing who this person is. What does she do in her spare time? She say if she's in a medical field. What does she do when she relaxes? How does she talk to people? What is her presence? How does she operate when she is she suspicious of people? Is she giving? Is she warm? Is she maybe she's one of those B words? Okay. Those are things you need to take into consideration. If you're talking about this male character, how is he in the world? Where does he fit into this woman's world? How does he fit in his own world? And then after you do the same thing with that male character, who is he? What does he look like? How does he walk? How does he smell even? How does he style his hair? What type of clothes does this person wear? I mean, this could apply to either character. Then, which is really important, think about who they were before the characters are brought up in the story. What were their backgrounds? What's their backstory? What made them the person that they were the moment they appeared in your book? What was the story behind them? Where did they come from? Who were their parents? Who raised them to be either the devils that you created or the pleasant, warm, jovial personalities that are there? How did they get there? Did they have a good childhood? Were they abused? You need to know every detail about your characters. And I love this part of writing because I think that's really critical. That's the way people can really relate because they can see how these people became. You may not reveal it all at once. It's like in unfolding the story, you're telling the story and you're letting the reader discover it moment by moment as you discovered it when you were writing it. So it's really important to pay attention to these characters and give your story, give yourself. And this biography, all your main characters should have a biography and it should be extensive down to, or it could be a list of things. Favorite foods, favorite color, favorite activities, sports they like, sports they don't like, things they love, things they hate, people that they love. Who do they treasure? What do they treasure? What is their philosophy of life? I mean, you can go on and on with this stuff. And look, the more in depth you get with your characters, the more they're going to reveal in the story. You may not need any or all of that information in presenting your story, but you will need to have a sense of who these people are before you can write about them. It's really clear and it's very necessary that you do this part of the story because this is like the nuts and bolts of writing. You cannot write about something you do not know. So, know your characters, write out who they are, and then write out your sub characters, the ones that are supportive to these people. Say it's a nurse, maybe there's another doctor that she relates to, maybe it's a receptionist who works on the hospital ward, or maybe it's an aunt, an uncle, when she goes home, who does she goes home to? Who does she live with? Where does she live? How do they live? What kind of circumstances? What does the house look like? What does their room look like? Maybe she in an efficiency apartment. It goes on, and it's so much fun. It's fun, I tell you. You're going to create this whole person, and you're going to give them dimension within that invisible world that you created in your mind. You're going to just make that person walk and talk. I swear, when I was writing Stones Along the Path, those people were walking around my house with me. It was so vivid. And when I stopped writing it, I wrote part one and part two. My sister, Geraldine, she's no longer with us. She asked me to write part three. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not writing anything about those characters again. I am so sick of Jessica Nakanyele in my brain. I cannot write everyone. And she said, oh, yes, you can. You have to write about these people because they are really great. There's no reason why they can't live on. And I'm like, I can't do it. She said, you have to promise me. Okay, I did it. I wrote part three before she died, and she read it. She loved it. And I haven't been able to read it since. So I did take it out a few months ago, and I started working on it again. So hopefully that will be out soon. I tell you, writing is so much fun. It's so much fun. So you create, but it's so important that you know who your characters are. You have to know that backstory. A lot of people don't do that piece of the work that of creating characters. Some people don't do that, and I think you can tell that in the writing because you can tell if the person knows that character or not. Do they know the subconscious desires of that person? It's something that we all have to have a sense of when we're reading it. I think it's important to me. And one of the things I loved about um, James Michener's writing, he gave personality to any and everything. Even animals had personalities, and they had a history. That's the ultimate of writing for me. It's like, yes, that is it. So do me a favor, take some time, write your main characters down in a biography. Each one should have one. Even your sub characters, each one should have a biography. So you know who that person is that you're writing about. So if you have the biography here and the storyline here, if she does something that's out of character, that means you just went a little bit out of line as far as your storyline is concerned, because that was illogical for that particular character to do that deed. So you want to keep everything in order. So it's important that you do that. Okay? So character development is, for me, it's like a gold mine. And I think it would be for you if you do the work. Okay? So next time, we'll talk more about it. In the meantime, enjoy your holidays. Enjoy decorating as I am, and get ready to do some wonderful, delicious foods. I'm going to be cooking like crazy. So that's my chore for this week after I decorate. I haven't finished yet, but we'll be about it. And I want you to love someone special and then love to you. God bless.